Hello and welcome to Quays News. I'm Johnny Kemwright.
And I'm Afifa Raza. Here's what's coming up in the programme today.
Salford MP Rebecca Long-Bailey calls for the release of medical records for nuclear veterans.
So what happened to those documents? Where are they now? And why, in so many cases, are nuclear veterans and their families unable to access their personal medical data?
Top vape supplier backs tougher regulations on the selling of their products to children.
I've noticed an increase in children who do look underage vaping. I do find it concerning.
7 giant heads have taken over Manchester in support of mental health awareness.
And Manchester's women's cycling clubs came together in their very own mobile disco for a good cause. But first, Rebecca Long-Bailey has called for the release of medical records for nuclear test veterans.
Yes, the Salford and Eccles MP has been speaking in Parliament today, and our reporter Callum Ewing joins us in the studio now. So Callum, what's the debate all been about?
Yesterday in Westminster, Rebecca Long-Bailey has been calling for the release of blood and urine samples for nuclear veterans. Now, these veterans took part in nuclear operations between 1957 and 1962 in Australia and Southeast Asia. Campaigners say newly discovered documents suggest that the Ministry of Defence may have known that the men were exposed to radiation. The veterans and families are now seeking compensation, as under the War Pension Scheme they are legally allowed to apply for it, and this has been debated for the last decade. Rebecca Long-Bailey told the story of one of the granddads of one of her constituents, John Morris, who was a Royal Engineer and was on site when 4 nuclear tests were carried out.
He himself was a Royal Engineer and served at Operation Grapple on Christmas Island, and he witnessed 4 nuclear explosions. He told me that one day he and his colleagues were told to sit in the open air with their backs to the explosion. Shorts and shirts were the norm, but on this day they were told to wear army-issued sunglasses and to find a cloth to put over their eyes. They were then hit with a flash 1,000 times brighter than the sun. His hands became an X-ray as he could see every bone and every joint.
Now, with nuclear testing, this can send large amounts of radiation into the atmosphere, which can have profound long-term mental and physical effects. Campaigners believe that due to the radiation, the men have suffered cancers and have had children with birth defects. Rebecca Long-Bailey says that some veterans had similar side effects to that of Chernobyl.
Now, the link between radiation and illness is, of course, now well established. In 2007, genetic research found nuclear veterans had the same rate of DNA damage as clean-up workers at Chernobyl.
So some shocking facts heard in Parliament today. Callum, what's next for these campaigners?
The campaigners will continue to fight for the release of blood and urine documents. They plan to track down as many surviving veterans as possible from around the world and force the High Court to disclose more documents. They also plan to take the Ministry of Defence to court.
Thank you for that, Callum. That was interesting stuff there. One of the country's top vape suppliers is supporting tighter restrictions on the handling and selling of vapes. Supreme Imports in Trafford say more should be in place to stop younger children obtaining them.
Despite this, many people believe suppliers aren't doing enough to tackle the growing problem. Scarlett Mullender has more.
According to ASH, 20.5% of children aged between 11 and 17 had tried vaping at least once in 2023. 2 of the largest suppliers of vapes in the UK, Supreme Imports in Trafford and BAT in London, have supported tougher regulations on the products to stop them being marketed towards children, but are refusing to remove any of the bright, attractive packaging some argue makes them more attractive to youngsters.
Supreme Imports, one of the country's largest producers of vape products, have vocally voiced their support in regulating vapes to younger children and selling them through licensed owners. We spoke to the people of Manchester to find out what their views are.
Most of the kids that get hold of them, like I said, they're getting them not from proper vape shops, or if they are getting them from vape shops, they're just not getting checked enough. We're quite hot on it. We've got 3 stores in Manchester, so we don't want to mess around with it or any of that, so we never even stocked the bigger disposables that a lot of the corner shops do stock. Anything more than 600 puffs is illegal, so even though we've left the European Union, and technically the regs don't apply, we still abided by them.
I personally believe companies need to do more, as I find that the marketing and the overall advertising is it's very like childlike with the imageries and the like illustrations on there. It's very eye-catching, it's very enticing. I've noticed like an increase in like children who like do look underage vaping. I do find it like concerning.
They look quite pretty, like they're like nice and colourful and they look quite fun and they're all like the flavours, so maybe like making it more boring like the cigarettes could help.
And do you think parents need to be more responsible, or is it the shop owners that are sort of marketing these vapes, or a little bit of both?
I think a little bit of both. I think they both need to take responsibility.
It seems vaping continues to remain a slippery slope for young children and may do until tougher regulations are strictly imposed. Scarlett Mullinder, Quays News.
Now, have you recently been out in Manchester and wondered why there are giant heads everywhere?
Well, it's all in support of awareness for mental health. Our reporter Evie went to see one of the statues in Media City.
Manchester Mind, Star and the Jamie Horrocks Trust have all come together in order to tackle mental health and suicide prevention. The head sculptures have been placed in and around 7 areas in Manchester and Salford, these being Fairfield Street, Mayfield Park, Baring Street, Greengate Square, Media City UK, Imperial War Museum and at Chapman Square. Each sculpture has been hand-painted and has its own individual design. We also have a QR code which reveals a trail map and information on the design. These sculptures will be up until the 11th of December for anyone that wants to walk the trail, whether that be to remember a loved one or support the charities.
Evie Rafferty, Quays News.
And next tonight, to the women coming together across Manchester to make cycling safer as the nights draw in.
Cycling groups came together in a riot of colour to make noise and empower other women to get back on their bikes, no matter the time. Our reporter Holly Roberts found out more.
Cycling in the name of safety. These women from Manchester are joining together to light up the roads with their very own disco. They gathered around the statue of suffrage leader Emmeline Pankhurst in their own show of unity. They are wanting the roads to become a safer space for women.
Well, we're here today because we wanted to put together a ride where, at the end of the day, the statistics are really low when it comes to women riding on the road on a regular basis. But it is particularly really low, and we become kind of invisible when it becomes darker and it becomes colder. So we wanted to create a ride, which is kind of #disco on wheels.
Lisa and Ali travelled from Stretford and Bolton to take part in the ride with Joyriders Cycling Club.
It's a sign of empowerment for women to come together and showing that we can own the streets and not be afraid to be out there on our bikes.
Well, I'm the same. I've not been out on the bike in the dark for a long, long time, so this is my way of getting back into to be able to cycle at night time, because I cycle with a group in the day all the time.
I think it's really important. I use my bike a lot in Manchester, in and out of the city centre, but literally when it starts getting dark, you're a bit more anxious, you know, especially with the traffic. So I thought tonight was a really good chance just to kind of light up the bike, get on the street, you know, just remind drivers that cyclists are about.
The club wants to inspire more people to feel safe on the roads at night and highlight women's issues with safety in the darker months. Holly Roberts, Quays News, Manchester.
And finally, Man City is honouring 3 club legends with a statue outside the Etihad Stadium.
The statue honours Colin Bell, Francis Lee and Mike Summerby. Hannah Vaness reports.
Manchester City has unveiled this statue of club legends Mike Summerby, Colin Bell and Francis Lee outside the Etihad Stadium. Summerby, Bell and Lee were central figures in winning the First Division title in 1968, the FA Cup the following year and both the European and League Cups in 1970. The statue also includes the names of all 29 players who featured during this trophy-winning era around the edge of the statue. Summerby scored 67 goals for City and remains an ambassador for the club, and he said, "This is a truly special moment for me and my family. I feel incredibly lucky to be recognised in this way," and he said it's an honour to be a part of the club. Lee scored 148 goals during his career and died in October this year. Bell died in 2012 after a total of 153 goals in his career. The statue has been sculpted by British artist David Williams Ellis and is 4.5 metres high and 4 metres wide. The chairman for Manchester City, Khaldoun Al-Mubarak, has said the statue is honouring 3 unquestionable City legends who have earned a special place in the hearts of City fans.
Oh, these 2 statue stories we've had today, FIFA. Have you seen any of these statues around Manchester?
I haven't really, which is quite surprising. I'd want to go out and see some now.
Have you not seen any of the heads out and about in town, even the one outside the front of the building?
No, not really. No, I'm just gonna go and see it now after I finish.
Are you going to do the whole trail, start here, and then go make your way through Manchester?
I mean,
you may as well.
We'll see. I mean,
and then you can
if you're coming along, I might as well.
Well, you can do the trail and end up at the Etihad and see that nice statue of the 3 club legend outside of Man City.
Definitely, I'll go and check it out after here now.
Why not?
I want to go check it out now. Well, that is all from us here at Quays News. You can keep up to date through our socials at Quays News.
Goodbye.